Okay. Hey, everybody. Let's see, our third training. I can't believe so. This means we're halfway done with this training. I hope that y'all are finding it useful. And again, please shout out if there's something specific that you are like looking for some help or some training in. And I'll try to touch on some of that. We have a general outline of the things we're going to go over, but if there's something that you're like, oh my gosh, I'm dying in this one area, can we please talk about that? Let me know and we'll do that. So you just post that on the board. But today we're going to be talking about goals and vision boards and your why. As y'all are growing in the business as leaders, you're starting to see that the things you learn. I remember when I first started the business and went to getting started and looking at the why and all this stuff, I really had that was lost on me. I'll be really honest. I was like, I don't know. Like it didn't, but the more and more I do the business, the more and more I kind of am like, oh, I think you just are starting. Me personally, start to get it on a different level. And so I think that more so now, I feel like I can talk about my why with a lot more oomph behind it because I really have a different belief in the business and in the opportunity. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that and how that might have changed as your business has changed. You guys are all like excelling leaders, right? You all have teams that are looking to you. You now have a success story of your own. I think that for a while we go on kind of the backs of the people before us, and now you can tell your story. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how you actually craft your story to talk about yourself instead of talk about your friends or somebody that you read their inspired blog or whatever about what they've done with the business. So y'all are the successes now, right? Okay, so you're on that road. So how to kind of incorporate your own personal experience into your story since now as you've grown in the business. So talking about, and then I have some homework, so get ready. Let's see, for goals. I thought that we would go over really quickly how to make a good and healthy goal. I am guilty of in the past either undershooting my goals or not making them clear enough or not. My biggest thing was not speaking them. Okay. I think it was a fear thing. And I would not just say, I am going to do this by this in this way. I think it just made me nervous and it made me feel like, oh gosh, if I say that, people are going to be watching me. And so that was a huge hurdle for me with goals. So there's kind of a little acronym. I think that's the right word. Where it spells a letter and anyway, for goals, which is SMART. And I'm going to talk real briefly. Y'all have probably all heard this, but I think it's good for you to know and have notes about because now you need it personally, but also you're going to need to kind of start using this even if you don't walk through the SMART of the goals with your teams to be sort of challenging them on, okay, well, I hear you saying you want to do this. Let's say, do you think you could do that in 2 months? Do you think you could do, so implementing some of these things that make good, healthy goals. And the first thing is to make the goals specific. Y'all have probably heard this before, but it needs to be written down. And I'm the world's worst at kind of being like, oh yeah, well, my goal is in 2 months, I want to have increased my volume by whatever. And then by the end of the month, I'm like, I don't remember what I said I wanted to do this month. Like, I can't remember. Did I think that this, it's just like, it kind of all gets lost. And so I committed at the beginning of this year. I said, I'm going to write down my goals every single month. Now, y'all, this does not have to be a, monumental thing. I'm going to show you my system. Ready? Get ready. It's really fancy. So this is my little calendar. I have one for every month. And on the back of every card, the month, I write, so it has my goals, my June goals, team volume of 70, level 5, 2 new consultants. So I write out my goals on the back of my calendar. It's really simple, not fancy at all. Done that. 4 lead the way miles, 2 consultants, 10 new PCs, team volume of 57. So that's just how I do it. And I have it right there in front of me. And I use the back of my calendar all the time as a place to keep up with my month. So that's the system. So it doesn't have to be this big fancy thing that you do. as much as it just needs to be something that works for you. So I found that this worked for me because I could flip back, I could look at the other months, so, but writing it down has been so helpful because I can look back and did I hit that one? If I didn't, it's okay. The world did not stop spinning, but at least I am being organized, and you have something to commit to when you are specific and write it down. So, and there's a million different things that you can set goals for, particularly in this business. It can be an increase in volume. It can be an increase in level. It can be an increase in consultants or PCs. It can be lead the way miles. It can be, team members. I mean, there's so many different things you can set goals for. So maybe even different seasons, you need to be chasing different things, right? I think chasing volume is always a good thing, because volume will lead to just your organizational growth. So chasing volume or setting volume goals are always, I think, healthy. Different seasons you run for different things. Right now I'm running for the Mexico trip in January. So I had to shift a little away from my lead the way goals to focus more on my level 5 goals. Okay. So you can't always have all the goals. Okay. Depending on what your kind of long-term thing is. So say you're level 2 and you really want to be level 5 by Christmas, right? So maybe what you need to do is shift your goals for that specific thing for that season. And maybe that means that, I'm gonna have to let lead the way go for a little bit and focus on this. That's okay. Okay. But they need to be specific and in front of you. The second thing is measurable. I think with this, one of the things that is so important is having accountability. Okay. I think that you guys in this group are excellent candidates as running partners with each other. Nothing would make me and Molly happier than seeing some of you guys begin to pair together. And y'all have seen Molly and I, she is for sure my accountability partner. I am for sure. We are constantly in communication about what we're doing, how it's going. Hey, did you do that? I'm praying for you. I know you're having this conversation, that kind of stuff. And y'all, that is so important. And so I really challenge y'all to find that. And that isn't something like I thought, oh, maybe I should assign them accountability partners. But I don't think it really happens that way. I think it needs to happen more like you kind of are running along and then you look beside and see someone running beside you and you're like, let's do this together. But this is a great group where you guys may find that in this group. And, with the retreat coming up and things like that, you may begin to find some natural things like that. But I think that what that leads into with measurable is there is some accountability there. Okay. And the thing that comes for me is speaking it. I need someone to know this is what I'm trying to do. And I want you to ask me how it's going. And that can be your sponsor. That can be your husband. I mean, it can be a million different things. But I would definitely say looking for having an eye of that as y'all move forward in the business is helpful to keep your goals measurable. Action oriented. So thinking about what are you actually going to do to achieve this goal? What does that mean if you have a goal of hitting level 5 by, let's say, the retreat? Say, I'm going to be level 5 by the retreat or Christmas, whatever. What does that mean you need to do? How many business partners do you need to, how full does your funnel need to be? What, how can you focus more on prospecting? How can you move people through, so what are the actions that you're going to take? So does that mean you need to bump up your reach outs? Does that mean you need to come up with some, challenge for yourself to do more 3-way calls? What does that mean? What are some action oriented things that you're going to do to achieve these goals? The R in SMART is realistic. So here's the thing. I would never say, oh, don't dream that big. That's not at all what I mean by realistic. It's more, there's some things that just don't happen overnight, right? So be realistic. Now, don't undersell yourself, but definitely try to think of what is realistic, what is honest about how this can happen, right? You've all seen people shoot to level 5 or shoot to Lexus or whatever in like 3 months. And I'm like, I have literally no idea how you did that. But what can you do that will be doable? Knowing the time that you have and the space that you have and the pace that you have been working your business, what is realistic? So I'm, looking at timeline and looking at Lexus volume. It's like, okay, well, some people say I can do that in this many months, but I think it might take 6 more months, and I'm trying to set my own personal, like, knowing the pace I have gone, how much longer is this going to take, right? And the last is time, is setting a deadline. So for me, I knew that I needed to be level 5 by, I was running for the Mexico trip. And so I knew I needed to hit that by, what was last month? May. So that was my goal. I had a goal of that. I had a goal of having something by convention one time. I had a goal of having, so there are definitely markers that you can have where you need to set, this is when I want to achieve this. And that is really helpful, because otherwise you're just never going to have an endpoint. So an endpoint of time is a good thing. When do you want to make this happen? The thing about this business that I will say, and this is me speaking from experience, and I've heard a lot, is that when you hit a goal, you need to immediately make another one. Okay. So if you have a goal of hitting level 3 in 2 months, you're going to need to immediately, you cannot sit back on your heels and enjoy that you have arrived. You can do that. In fact, do celebrate. However, you need to be looking towards what your next goal is. Here's why. The problem with this business is that consistency is basically the engine that churns it all, right? So if you sit back on your heels and, revel in all your glory for too long, you've missed out on a few months of reaching out, a few months of moving your business forward, a few months of keeping your funnel full. And then all of a sudden you find yourself no longer in that position. Okay. So my personal experience was, this was the first time I hit level 5, which was a year and a half ago, maybe. Hit level 5 and I was like, I have arrived. I mean, how awesome. And I lived there and I enjoyed it. And I was so proud of myself. And I just stayed there and I didn't do anything. I just sort of was like, oh, this is awesome. I hit my goal. And I kind of let it just keep spinning. And then the next thing I looked around, I was like, well, that was short-lived, because I didn't continue. I didn't set my next goal. My next goal should have been Premier, and I didn't set it. And I floundered, and now I had to rebuild. So the point of that is, when you have goals and you meet them, that is awesome. Then you need to look forward to what your next one should be, right? Particularly, I feel like in our business, that's really important. So that's personal goals. I think that's super important for you guys, and to use those same kind of criteria as you're helping your teammates think of setting goals. I want to talk a little bit now about how you actually train your team with goals. I think that the way that we set them up from the beginning, really, we could do, sometimes I feel like, maybe this is personal experience, but that I could do a better job of setting them up from the beginning with the goals. I feel like a lot of times we're all guilty of saying, you want to try to get 600 every month. Like, 600 really, really work at getting 600. And it's like, well, for some people, they may be able to do 3 times that, but they don't, because they feel like you do 600. Like, I'm supposed to just do 600. It can be limiting, is what I'm saying. Or it can feel like, well, it's not really a big deal if you don't get to 600, but we kind of try to get to 600. So it's the way that we kind of posture ourselves. And I'm saying this to you guys as leaders, knowing that you want the new consultants that come on your team to be ECs, right? That is advantageous for them. That is advantageous for you. So you want them to, as they come into the business, be trained from the beginning that what we do is EC every month, right? I mean, there's obviously the exception of the wholesale people, but it's like, if you're trying to make money at the business, you really need to EC. I mean, you're not going to make very much if you don't, right? So we need to smartly start them, encouraging them that, yes, 600, totally doable. Yeah, we'll get you there for sure. Where we talk about, really, if you can get 4 customers this month, that will get you to 600. Okay. And then we'll have your BBL, and then that will get you another 600, or we'll do an online event. So you need to make it sound like, yes, of course you're going to get 600, instead of sort of like, you don't need to give them the goal of getting to 600 and like scraping to get there, but you need to paint it sort of like, yeah, of course. Oh yeah, we'll get you there. And then you really need to do whatever it takes to get them there. Okay. Because you have to think that's going to give them a bigger paycheck. That's going to get them a faster start, you know? So my point is, I think sometimes we're kind of a little like, we undersell the possibility because we like push this 600 so far, when really like that's the minimum we want from them, right? That's the minimum we want. And we want them to do a whole lot more than that for their sake, really. So make broader goals, I guess is what I'm saying, for the new people that you bring on your team. And as you have growing ECs, not to train them to not think that just barely getting to 600 or getting to 600 is good enough. You know, you want them to feel like I've done that and then I do more than that, you know, instead of like limiting them, I guess. And also, I feel like I'm not saying this very well, but like, for example, when I brought Yeyi on a couple months ago, I just kind of was like, oh yeah, every month, you know, we get to 600, we fill our buckets. I didn't really give her the option that you would stop at 400. Right? So it's kind of like, and so every month she's like, hey, Demetria, okay, I'm at 400 right now. What do I need to do? Let's think about what we can do to get me to 600. She feels that because I kind of just always trained her that like, yes, we get to 600 every month at least, you know, like, and so she feels like, okay, well then, and you know, as her leader, I'm going to help her get there. But that started at the very beginning, right? Is that from the very beginning, she has always felt like there's really no, like you just get to 600, right? I think that had something to do with the language, instead of just kind of like, oh, no big deal. I mean, it's up to you, you know, like, but just kind of giving them that kind of starting place. Another thing I think we need to do differently as far as setting goals and launching our new consultants and people under us on our team is from the beginning and early in their EC lives, teaching them, challenging them, instructing them to get business partners. I remember a training I did a while ago, and they said, you know, as a leader in this company, the people under you that you can count on, really the only dependable legs you're going to have need to have their own teams, right? They need to have consultants under them. So you really can't count on a leg, I mean, you can, but like, what they say is you shouldn't count on a leg until they have a consultant under them, because a consultant gives them staying power, right? Just selling product and that, it's great, but until they have a consultant under them, you can't really count on them as a dependable leg. So I think what we need to do is start, when someone comes into the business, one of the first things that we say is, you know, yeah, go sell 4 regimens, or do you have a friend who wants to do this with you? Because if they join you this month, I can train you together. We can do this together. They'll fill your 600 bucket and you'll already be an EC this month, you know? So from the beginning, starting to train that, growing your legs teams, teaching that as sort of what we do, so that will trickle down through your organization, is something that would be super valuable. I mean, if you could imagine everybody that you bring on, if they, from the beginning, because I remember, here's my personal story. When Lynn brought me into the business, she said, okay, well, let me know if you ever like think of anyone who might want to do this business with you, just let me know. And I can talk to you about how we can do that. I was like, no, I had, like, it had literally never occurred to me months into or weeks into the business that I would ever have a business partner. Like, that was like not on my radar screen. In my mind, I was like, I'm going to sell this product to like 5 or 6 people and get the discount. And no, I do not want a team. What are you talking about? Which is hilarious. But, but I think that from the beginning, I didn't really know that that was an option. You know, I didn't have the vision for that. And so I wasn't trained in that way. And I think that that's something that we need to do a little differently, is get them in, because think how much more fun it is for you guys now that you do have, I mean, there's obviously headaches that come with it, but it's a lot of fun, and you learn the business so much better when you have someone who's looking to you. You move so much faster when you have someone that's looking to you. So there's a lot that comes from building a team that is good. Okay, so now we're going to move on to your business story and your why. I kind of touched on this at the beginning, but I think it's important at this stage in your business to kind of stop and think about the way you talk about the business. I know that probably when you were new in the business and you practiced talking about the business, or maybe even the spiel that you would do at a BBL, or talking on the phone on a three-way, or even talking to a friend at coffee or whatever, the way you talked about the business was probably really different than it could be now. But if you don't stop and think about it and almost prepare for what you would say at this stage in your business, it's real easy to sort of fumble it and not feel like I'm sort of bragging about myself, or I don't know. So I think it's good at this stage in your business to stop and kind of reformulate your your story. So when you started telling the story, you might have told the story of Molly, or you might have told the story of, who knows, one of the legends or something of Reading and Fields. But now you can use your own story, because now you are a leader and you've grown this team, and this has blown you away. And, and it's more than just, gosh, I've been doing this for 2 months. And, you have a history here and you are a leader here. And so you can start talking from that perspective. So make sure that your shift of perspective in the business is translating into your story and how you talk about the business, and that people know that you have excelled in this business. I think that's why it's a great thing that we shout out when people have accomplishments and stuff, so that people see like, whoa, she's really doing a great job and she's taking this serious. And I think that's what people are watching for. And so as you are talking about the business, just keep in mind, like, you're now one of those leaders. You can now share your story, which is kind of fun to shift that a little bit. And, it's not bragging, it's not patting yourself on the back. It's just like, you have achieved this, and that's great. So that kind of leads into your why. Like I was saying, your why at the beginning, and, get really down deep on that next level of like, where are, what is motivating you to do this? And I'll say mine has changed. Actually, I'm not sure I had fully defined what mine was. But then, if y'all don't know this, Chris lost his job last July, and didn't have a job for 10 months. And so my why became so clear to me. I mean, my why was like, I looked at my children and my husband not having a job, and literally Reading and Fields was paying our bills. Like, I mean, every dime we needed to live on, I made with Reading and Fields, which is like, thank you, Lord. And it was really cool. Even the story of how it had built up over all these years, and we didn't really need the money. But then once he lost his job, I was like making exactly what we needed. So it's a really sweet story. But through that experience, I was able to see what my why was. And, underneath it all, it's like, I want to be able, it involves my family and the way that I was raised and the things that I was able to say yes to. And the thought of, kind of getting real with when Chris didn't have a job and thinking, oh goodness, are we not gonna be able to do this? And is this not the way I'm gonna be able to raise my kids? And anyway, so my why became really clear. Obviously it was my family, and obviously it was my ability to say yes to things that I'm passionate about. But that became really, really clear for me. And that is what drove me to get my butt in gear, to be honest. And I heard it said, you always hear, you need a why that's going to make you cry. And in the midst of me really figuring out my why, I heard somebody say, no, you need a why that's going to make you work, because crying ain't going to get you a paycheck, but working will. And so something that's going to make you give 100%, that's going to make you stay up a little bit later, get up a little bit earlier, make that phone call you really don't want to make, come up with a list of people you have to have something. And when Chris didn't have a job, I had that in my gut of like, I don't have a choice. And you know what? I don't care what these people think about me. I don't care what, these insecurities that I have very deeply rooted inside of me. You know what? I'm literally paying for my family to survive right now. So I do not care. And so I had to get really raw and down and deep. And like, that drove me to push send. That drove me to make that call. That drove me to, you know, grow the business and do the hard things, right? So now is a good time to sort of reevaluate that, because once you get a little down the road in the business and you're able to kind of see like, oh my gosh, like I might actually be able to achieve level 5 and I might actually get to drive a Lexus someday. And you know, you see those things and you're like, whoa, this is real and I really can do that. So finally, what we're going to do is talk about vision boards. And I don't know if any of y'all have ever done vision boards. Actually, I, early on in the business, went to it was kind of a Knoxville wide thing at some church on Middleburg, but it was a work day, and I felt like I sort of got, you know, suckered into this. I didn't really know what I was getting into, and if I had known, I'm not sure I would have gone. It was a vision board day, and I remember sitting there thinking, well, this is cheesy. I'm being real, but they said, you know, you need to dream and you need to think about what you can do with this business and what you would do if you really could do anything. And so that was probably the first time I was like, whoa. And they said, and you know, here's all these magazines and look through, and they told us to bring some things that were important to us or whatever. And we made these vision boards. I'm going to show y'all mine. And I keep this in my closet. And I think actually I brought it in here to show y'all, but I think I'm going to start keeping it in my office now / laundry room. Let's not kid anybody. But so made this vision board, and it was so fun to look at like the things that I wanted to be able to do with this business. And now to look and be like, I've actually already done some of these. How cool is that? So level 5, savings. Obviously travel is important to me. And yes, this is honestly, when I get down deep to it, my reason is to be able to say yes, not just willy-nilly, but wisely. But so level 5, get ready for guests, because hospitality is a really big deal to me. Anyway, I did it. So just achieving goals. Anyway, so this was a really good exercise for me. Okay. And I cannot wait until one day I get to really do more of this stuff and look back and, you know, that's a good exercise. Okay. So I'm not going to ask y'all to go cut up all your good housekeepings, but I do think that we need to do a little exercise. I would like y'all to make a vision board, and we'll do a simple version. You can do one on PicStitch or whatever, any of those kind of apps where you can collage pictures. But I want y'all to spend some time this week. Here's your assignment. You have 2, but this is the main one. I want you to spend some time this week thinking about your vision board, and we're just going to do from now until Christmas, right? So let's give you this 6 months, and like, what do you want to achieve? What is your kind of motivation? What are your goals for that? What do you see happening in the next 6 months? And what does that look like for you? Okay. So I made one in January. January. I was going to show it to y'all. Actually, let me show it to you on my phone. I keep it on my phone. So I made one in January, and this was my goals. Can you see that? See that? That's kind of not good lighting, is it? Well, anyway, it has level 5. And then I think, is that one the car? No, this one's the car, the Lexus. My kids, because that's the motivation. Yes, that's like my word. And then the, y'all can't see that. Well, anyway, Mexico. I don't know why. That seems like you'd be able to see it, but anyway. So I made that real, you know, it really took longer for me to think, what is it that I really want? And I set it as my screensaver on my phone, and it has been just kind of like, it's become part of me. It's become part of okay, oh yeah, I gotta do my work today because I see it on my phone, you know? So I want y'all to come up with a little mini vision board of what you have it doesn't have to be level and this and that. It can just be like, I want, it can be a dollar sign. It can be, it can be whatever it is that symbolizes for you what you're hoping for in the next, let's just do a short-term one here, okay? Feel free to do a collage like this. Also, because there is great value in this, but for this assignment, I want y'all to do just a little 6-month vision. It's a great thing to hold you accountable, and then use it, print it off, put it somewhere that you see it, or keep it on your phone like I do. And then also spend some time reworking your story a little bit, just knowing how to keep that current with where you are now in the business. Okay, I hope that that was helpful as you think of yourself and setting goals at this place in your business, and then also training your team. Let's see. Do you have any questions, Suzanne?
No, that was really helpful though.
Oh, good.
I'm all excited about doing it now.
Good.
I have kind of a motivation board, but not really a vision board. So it's got all the good quotes and everything that people say.
Oh, yeah.
But now I'm thinking I really need a vision board too.
Yeah. Well, and a vision board can help you, kind of like what we were talking about with setting goals, because it's more specific. It's more like this, I want to pay off this loan, or I want to, you can kind of put a picture of something that's going to mean something that when you look at it, you're like, well, check that one off. Like it kind of gives you some tangible things that you can work towards that hopefully will, be helpful and encouraging. So, okay, well, I'm going to put a post up in a little bit. I'll post this recording, and then I'm going to put a post up for y'all to post underneath. Just attach your picture of your vision board so that you can share it with everybody. I know it's a little vulnerable, but you'll be glad you did it. Okay, love you guys so much. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, yeah. Bye, Suzanne. We'll talk to you soon. Okay.